close to Rubicon. Wake the dog up.
Handler Walter verified. Activating cerebral coral control device. Augmented human C4621 has awakened.
I assure you, the skin-tight suits are necessary for handler morale. Armored Core 6 is a fast-paced mecha action game set in a dystopian future where capitalism is the dominant economic system. Developed from software... No, that sounds wrong. Developed by The Software from Japan. It is the 6th mainline installment in the Dark Souls franchise, and probably the best game ever made. Wait, that's the wrong script. If you've caught some of my recent streams, or really any big industry event in the past year, you probably already know what Mecha Break is. For those who don't though, I'm gonna give you a quick rundown. Mecha Break, developed and published by Amazing Season Games, is a PvP mecha hero shooter. While every mech falls under broader classes, they aren't as rigidly defined as, say, tank, DPS, and support. Some may be more tanky, focus on melee, or have healing abilities. And others can even turn into planes. Or be welcome. The game has 3 main game modes, a 6v6 objective queue, 3v3 arena, and the PvPvE Mashmak extraction shooter mode, kind of like Tarkov. It's one of my favorite multiplayer games released in recent years. The mechs look cool, they play great, the movement and gunplay feel super solid, but it has just a few glaring issues holding it back. Splitgate was a PvP first-person shooter developed and published by 1047 Games that released in summer of 2021, but we'll get back to that.
Foreshadowing is a literary device in
The game's concept was simple, and it was that very simplicity that got people hooked. Halo, with portals. Anyone could have thought of that, yet nobody had made it before, and it sure grabbed people's attention. I played it at a few different points in its lifespan, and I really enjoyed it. The gameplay was fun, the movement was fluid, the guns felt great. What could possibly go wrong? Oh. Okay, let's look at the history of Splitgate to figure out what happened here. During one of those summer game show things in 2021, audiences were asked a question. What if Portal with guns? Combine this simple yet somehow unique idea with a banger trailer and you have a pretty decent recipe for success. And boy did they cook. Rather quickly, Splitgate built up a pretty big following for a game, let alone a studio, nobody had heard of before. Everyone wanted a taste of the meal, but there wasn't nearly enough room at the table. The beta following the trailer was borderline unplayable due to login queues, and had to be extended by 2 weeks. And after finally releasing on July 27, within less than 30 days, the game boasted over 10 million downloads. Personally, I quite enjoyed the game. Despite never getting into Halo myself, Splitgate had snappy gunplay, which, combined with a solid movement system and the creativity the portals allowed for, was a very refreshing take on the FPS genre. I even began looking for other arena shooters, something I had never really found interest in before. Starting everyone on an even playing field and having to fight over control of the map and of guns, rather than arbitrary capture points, scratched an itch I never knew I had. When I first started playing in 2020, I quickly fell in love with the game. And despite the low player count on release, matches were found quickly. The timelines here don't quite match up. How am I claiming to have started playing in 2020 when all official material says the game was released in 2021? Let's check the Steam page just to be 2019? I'm not great at math, but this doesn't quite seem to line up. Let's pull back the curtain. I haven't been entirely honest with you. Splitgate was a first-person arena shooter developed and published by 1047 Games, releasing into open beta in May of 2019 to moderate success. It became a bit of a cult hit, but despite the low player counts, matches were found quickly. How? By secretly filling lobbies with unmarked bots. Some of you who played the game may have fond memories of completely destroying the opposing team, or some super cool plays you pulled off. Yeah, bad news. You probably beat up on bots without the game ever telling you. Still, the game received regular updates and season passes, with Season 3 being announced for October 15th, 2020, along with the game officially leaving beta. But clearly, the developers weren't quite content with the beta release, nor with the official full game release. It didn't quite hit the numbers they had envisioned. So, in summer 2021, they simply decided to try again. Make a new trailer, announce it on a big stage, release into beta yet again, despite having left beta less than a year ago. And this time, it worked. In August of 2021, the game peaked at 67,000 concurrent players on PC alone, accompanied by the announcement of Beta Season 0 starting on August 25th, conveniently ignoring that the game had been in Season 3 previously. And the success paid off. Shortly after release, 1047 Games received a $10 million investment, and in September 2021, that was followed by another investment of $100 million. Despite the massive player count and the runaway financial success for the studio, players kept being put into lobbies full of bots constantly, leading to many players quickly burning out on the game as it felt like there was rarely a fair competition. Player numbers fell as quickly as they had risen, despite the developers' best attempts to reignite interest with the release of Beta Season 1 on January 28, 2022. Many of the issues the game had were excused away as, it's still a beta, despite the game having released twice before. And less than 2 years after the game released in 2021, the final big announcement came. September 2nd, 2022. Development on Splitgate would cease to focus on new projects. Player numbers never recovered. Fast forward 2 years. July 18th, 2024. Splitgate 2 is announced. It's bigger, it's better, it's an esport. The game's whole identity has been redesigned from the ground up, sanitized, streamlined. The game is now an in-universe sport, see Apex. There are factions, there are loadouts. Truly, it is everything a live service game could possibly hope to be. There was a closed alpha from August 21st to 25th, 2024, followed by an open alpha from February 27th to March 2nd, 2025. Opinions were mixed. The old Splitgate was lost in favor of essentially a hero shooter. There were fewer and fewer portal surfaces, and it tried way too hard to be quirky, while clearly existing to become an esport. Following one last open beta test on May 22nd, 2025, Splitgate 2 officially launched June 6th to decent success, peaking around 25,000 players on Steam. Nowhere near the breakout hit of the first game's third release, yet still bleeding players just as fast. And July 22nd, not even 2 months later, 1047 announced the game would be going back to beta. You have got to be fucking kidding me. There were some other controversies surrounding the game, mainly about the CEO's questionable choice in headwear, but ultimately, the game failed on its own merits. But I do have to commend the developers. Most studios would have shut down immediately if a game flopped this hard. Despite me poking fun at them throughout this, I do want Splitgate to succeed. Splitgate 1, despite the servers having been shut down now, is still playable with peer-to-peer matchmaking, a step many developers wouldn't bother taking. I'm happy they're willing to listen to feedback, acknowledge the shortcomings of their game, and go back to the drawing board. I just find this entire timeline quite funny. But this video is mainly about Mecha Break, so how does this all tie in? There was a lot of hype for Mecha Break before its release. The official announcement trailer was shown off at the Game Awards in December 2023. There were several semi-open playtests, all of which I participated in and had lots of fun with. It quickly became my most anticipated game of 2025, and I kept looking out for any information on a release date. Mecha games are a niche genre, and trying to make a mecha hero shooter is bound to turn off some established fans of that genre. Still, when it released on July 1st, Mecha Break managed to soar past 80,000 peak players, with an average of 25,000 in its first month on Steam alone. But the drop-off was drastic, comparable to Splitgate. And much like Splitgate, even at peak player counts, the game would regularly fill your lobbies with unmarked bots, leading to frustratingly one-sided matches that rarely had a satisfying result. That problem only compounded with the quickly diminishing player base, leading to a point where most, if not all, of your matches were a majority bots. On top of that, player counts were split between regions with no way to switch without having to start over from scratch. At this point, EU servers are reportedly near completely dead, and the only way to play the game is to play on North American or Asian servers. And if you have to switch servers, you better hope you didn't spend any money on the game, as none of that would carry over. Oh yeah, the monetization. Personally, I don't have much of an issue with it. Yes, there's some very expensive cosmetics in the store, up to $50 bundles on top of season passes and a rotating cosmetic store, but none of those have any effect on gameplay, and everything in the season passes can be unlocked with free tokens you earn throughout the season. You can even earn the paid currency by selling items from the Mashmech extraction mode on the in-game marketplace to other players. Mechs are entirely earned through in-game currency too, so you're at no real disadvantage as a free-to-play player. Still, the things you can buy are quite expensive even by mobile game standards. With Season 0 coming to a close any day now as of writing the script, and player numbers continuing to fall, many remaining players are worried about the game having been abandoned. There's been little to no communication from the developers to dissuade those worries either, although we do know that at least one season's worth of content is still happening, with 2 new mechs and presumably many more expensive cosmetics. Will this save the game? That remains to be seen. However, I remain hopeful. The game's developer, Amazing Season Games, was primarily known for one game before this, a gacha game called Snowbreak Containment Zone. If you're active in gacha game spaces, you may have heard of the game's history, but to sum it up incredibly briefly, the game entirely flopped on launch. Snowbreak was plagued with technical issues and simply didn't stick with people the way a gacha game would need to. Still, they kept at it and managed to pull it around. I'm not personally a huge fan of the game. Many of the features added to save the game's life were raunchy at best, and it has become more waifu observer than third-person shooter. Still, the tenacity is commendable, and in many ways, Mecha Break has already followed in Snowbreak's footsteps, being very generous with its body physics and having an entire section of the game dedicated to simply staring at your player character doing questionable things. I truly believe that they have the experience to turn Mecha Break around and save it from dying an early death. The question is, are they willing to do so, or would they rather just take the L and drop the game with the money they made off it? And if they do stick with it, how predatory is the monetization going to get? How raunchy are new features gonna be? Only time will tell. So, as I'm writing this, it is already several weeks past my personal video deadline I set for myself. I meant for this to come out before Daemon X Machina 2, but no. Instead I have to keep going deeper on the Splitgate rabbit hole. On September 7th, the game's producer Chris posted official dev notes for the Season 1 update. The launch is confirmed for September 19th, which is sooner than initially intended. People who bought the Season 0 Battle Pass, expecting it to last 3 months, are being compensated for the updated schedule. 2 new strikers were announced, and while I won't let this turn into a full-on review of those, they look interesting at the very least. Matrix selections, essentially the seasonal shop Battle Pass hybrid, are receiving some changes. The loot box rewards are being improved, guaranteeing a skin in every box now. Yeah, I probably should have mentioned this, there are loot boxes. It's not a big deal. Keep in mind, Those loot boxes contain only cosmetic rewards and are purchased with in-game currency, not real money. Rather than having to spend your tokens to buy items, you will now simply unlock them by earning enough tokens to reach the threshold, which leaves you with more tokens to spend on other things. They are also increasing the amount and value of freely earnable cosmetics, which looks like a positive change. Much of this remains to be seen, but compared to the total lack of communication we have seen in the past weeks, this is a massive improvement. Additionally, near the end of Season 0, the game got an entirely PvE version of the extraction mode, something that had been highly requested, and due to its massive success, it's been announced to stick around for the entirety of Season 1 with additional content. None of this is enough for me to retract what I've said so far in this video, but it's absolutely a step in the right direction. The effect of this, however, remains to be seen. There will be a live stream on September 12th, going in-depth on some of the changes coming in Season 1. Inshallah, I have this video done before then. I don't want to rewrite the script again. And now, as I'm recording this, it is another week later, and I just learned that a video titled Death of a Game Splitgate has been released, defeating half of the purpose of me writing and recording this, since nobody had talked about the history of Splitgate before. I think I might throw up. I've had enough. I'm not watching the Season 1 dev livestream. I'm sure there's some great balance changes announced, but none of that even matters if I can't get this video out. At this rate, it's gonna be Season 2 when the video releases. I want to work on something else. I want to see my children again. I miss my wife. Is Mecha Break worth playing? Personally, I absolutely believe it is. It is the mecha game with the best gameplay I've personally experienced since Armored Core 6. So, if you're craving PvP mecha action, there's no better option out there. Just don't get too invested until we see how the game's future is going to shake out. There truly is nothing quite like it. However, with the release of Daemon X Machina 2, mecha fans are eating good right now. I should make a video on Daemon X Machina. Hi, thanks for watching. As I'm recording this, it is the 23rd of September 2025. You may notice that is after the start date of Season 1. Yeah, this video has become my personal hell. I'm going a bit off script here. I've glanced over some of the changes in Mecha Break. I haven't had the time to play a lot recently on account of working on this godforsaken video. They're good. Game looks fine. I'm not too happy with the way they're handling the PvE mode, the like mashmac alternative pure PvE. You need like passes to play it. I don't know how frequently you'll get them. The new battle pass system is a bit more complicated than it needs to be, but overall, it's still Mecha Break. The game's still fun. I just wish it felt less like I'm playing a gacha game. I play enough of those as is. Hey, I really hope you enjoyed the video. It's been a bit of a passion project for me. It's been many, many years since I've worked on a video, let alone a scripted video. So I've been teaching myself Premiere and After Effects again. It's been a bit of a ride. I'm nowhere near the level where I would like to be, but I also want to get this video released eventually. So hopefully I'll get to finish editing today or tomorrow, and well, you'll know when the video is live by the date on the video. Yeah, YouTube things. Please check the description. There will be links to the German YouTuber who's basically I stole the entire Splitgate section from. Please go check him out if you speak any German at all, or if you just want to support him. He's great. Other than that, please give me any feedback you'd like. Positive, negative, so long as it's constructive. Shit, I gotta go.
How the fuck did you get in my house?